I'm telling you, Michael Jordan himself was right here in my McDonald's. I fixed him the very first McJordan special.
Right, Bill.
I did. I took a quarter pound of pure beef, smoked bacon, cheese, and some of my favorite barbecue sauce, and I named it the McJordan Special.
Bill, the sandwich, definitely great.
Yeah, but you got the cooling with that story.
But it's true.
How you doing, Bill?
Hi, Michael. Michael.
The McJordan Special, for a limited time, only at McDonald's.
This is TV8, KCCI TV, Des Moines.
Some of the stories you'll be seeing on the TV8 News Live at 6. Dana Carden reporting live via satellite from South Florida on Iowans helping in the relief efforts for Hurricane Andrew. Steve Oswald reports on the emotional sentencing of a Roland Story teacher on sex abuse charges. And we'll have the latest on the search for the missing Grinnell College student. Now this.
Tonight. After 15 long years, a boy finds his long-lost brother and a chance to beat leukemia.
Current Affair, tonight at 6:30 on TV8.
Weather forecast: showers and thunderstorms likely tonight and tomorrow. Thursday, partly sunny with high in the low 80s. Back at 6, now to CBS.
Did your apartment get hurt here?
Yeah.
Wiped out?
President Bush returns to Florida to survey hurricane damage and play up the power of incumbency in an election year. An epidemic of car thefts in America. The thieves are younger and more brazen than ever. And the neo-Nazi movement. Racial hatred spreads across Europe. This is the CBS Evening News. Good evening. I'm Connie Chung, sitting in tonight for Dan Rather. President Bush returned to South Florida and Louisiana today to survey the physical and political damage from Hurricane Andrew. This time, he brought Florida a promise that the feds will pay the full cost of the cleanup. That is, everything that qualifies under government programs. Our coverage begins with Susan Spencer, who's traveling with the president.
Good luck.
On his second tour of the hurricane's devastation, Mr. Bush made it clear that the federal response, although perhaps a day late, won't be $1 short. As he visited the soup kitchens in tent cities that now are Homestead, Florida, he promised that the local Air Force base will be completely rebuilt and that Uncle Sam will pick up the full tab for all cleanup and reconstruction.
We, working cooperatively with everybody, will rebuild South Florida. The spirit's still here. The spirit is still intact, and may God bless the people that have been hurt. We're here to help.
But help was agonizingly slow at first, and FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, is again being blasted for not doing the one thing it is supposed to do: respond to an emergency.
It has a comparatively small budget, and it has 10 times as many political appointees as any other agency its size. And so what you end up with is unqualified people with not enough money trying to do a very big job.
The same complaints came after the Los Angeles riots, after the San Francisco earthquake, and after the last major hurricane, Hugo, turned its fury on South Carolina.
There's a missing link in their process, and the missing link is a proactive, immediate, hands-on response.
The White House in this election year does not need assessments like that, especially not in states as crucial as Florida and Louisiana. Hands-on is exactly what this trip was designed to show, as Mr. Bush walked the devastated sugarcane fields this afternoon and promised more assistance.
I am here today to check the progress that's been made and to make the point that we're in this for the long haul.
Local officials were just as eager to stress the positive.
Unfortunately, we can't do everything as fast as we'd like to for everybody, given the nature of the damage and the extent of it, but I have to say that everybody has tried.
This trip was called non-political, but it clearly is in Mr. Bush's political interest to be seen as the commander-in-chief in charge in a domestic crisis, especially since he's so often been criticized for really caring more about foreign affairs. Susan Spencer, CBS News, the White House.
This is Giselle Fernandez in Homestead, Florida. For some, struggling to survive through yet another hellish day here, the president's return ignited more fury than reassurance.
There's 2 or 3 days here, we're just sitting right here with nothing, you know what I mean? He was running real late. I just figured he should have been here earlier.
Politics for some just wasn't relevant. The day ahead was too long and hot. as they continued to dig out from under the ruins of a paradise lost.
It's a disaster here. People going without power. We're going without power. No milk, nothing.
But some who took to their roofs to plead for the president's help welcomed his arrival.
I think the president's done real good work. We've got plenty of help down here, it seems like.
But not all share that sentiment, particularly those desperate for shelter. It's been 9 days today that thousands have been living in collapsing homes, and many are growing increasingly frustrated that the military's tent cities aren't yet ready to open.
We're working as fast as we can. We're working about 18, 19 hours a day.
Marines working in blistering heat say they are still waiting for the Army to bring in supplies.
And it was just a hurry up and get over here, start something, you know? Hurry up and get over here.
But families living for more than a week now in broken homes amidst the stench of baking trash without power or water are desperate for shelter.
Every time it rains, we have a pool in here, and I think it's bad for the baby. I mean, we're getting water inside and everything, and they told us that we had to move.
Some, though, are choosing to go at it alone, refusing to rely at all on government shelters. Since the storm, Marvin Grice has been living at the shattered tavern he calls Home Sweet Home. He heard the president arrive this morning on Air Force One.
Politics and a disaster don't have anything to do with it. This is people, man. All people. And from the richest down to the poorest.
For better or for worse, with or without the president's help, Grice is optimistic, as are many here in South Florida, that they will survive.
We're going to build it back. Oh, yeah, it'll take a while, but we're going to build it back.
The Red Cross here at Harris Field has just told us they're going to try and open up this tent city behind me sometime tonight for some people, but in all reality, don't expect all the camps to be fully operational until sometime tomorrow night at the very earliest. Connie?
Thank you, Giselle Fernandez. Later tonight, President Bush will address the nation on the hurricane disaster. CBS News will carry it live tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. The highway known as US 1 runs from Maine to the Florida Keys. Parts of it along the coast have always been beautiful. But thanks to Hurricane Andrew, US 1 in South Florida has taken on an entirely new character, as Scott Pilley reports.
This is US 1, and basically it's the main line from Miami down to South Dade area. And every business on it, from probably 10 miles north to all the way down to the Keys, is destroyed. There's nothing left of it.
It's a 4-lane route through the most damaging disaster in American history.
Paper, paper, paper!
We're basically rebuilding them right from scratch. It's pretty hectic, long hours.
South Miami, Kendall, Cutler Ridge, Homestead, Florida City. Thousands are jobless, homeless, and hungry.
It's all free. We're doing it all week long. At Cutler Ridge, we are serving about 2,000. So 10 to 12,000 here. Did you get your bag?
It's along this road that you can get a feeling for the size of the destruction. More than 30 miles of absolute devastation. All the way from the Rolls-Royce dealership back in Miami to the migrant farm workers just ahead.
I got this again, her dad. I want to see the baby.
We're traveling up and down US 1, trying to get all the migrant workers, anybody that we can get along through this area.
What are you seeing?
People starve. People hungry, need water, ice. But it's just not getting down through here.
For everyone now, US 1 is a lifeline.
If we don't have this road right here, we don't have life right here. This is where the food and supplies is coming in.
4 lanes through a path of destruction. For the people of South Florida, US 1 is slowly becoming a road to recovery.
We're going to rebuild. We're here, we live here, we're not going anywhere. There's life on US 1.
Scott Pilley, CBS News, Homestead, Florida.
Still ahead on the CBS Evening News, neo-Nazi violence in Germany may be spreading beyond the border. And Jose Canseco's next home run won't be for the Oakland A's.
Our
competition uses a very sophisticated, state-of-the-art, highly precise device to measure their cars. Our car, the Accord from Honda.
Every second of an asthma attack can feel like an eternity. That's why there's Primatene Mist. Primatene opens clogged breathing tubes fast when speed counts. Primatene Mist, fastest type asthma relief without a prescription.
After examining, testing, it's a fact. You can buy new Preparation H hydrocortisone cream with the maximum strength available without a prescription to relieve problem itch. New Preparation H hydrocortisone cream. Prescription strength without a prescription.
A new wave of extreme right-wing neo-Nazi unrest is sweeping what used to be East Germany. There was violence overnight in 5 German cities. Now, the trouble may be jumping the border, as we hear from Barry Peterson.
In a small French town near the German border, the worst desecration of a Jewish cemetery in years. It sent a chill through Jewish communities across Europe. Such fears are heightened because neo-Nazi riots in Germany are spreading. One of the worst in recent days was in Cottbus, the target foreign refugees. Rabbi Hugo Green survived a concentration camp only a few miles from Cottbus. In today's neo-Nazi rhetoric, he hears the echoes of those who tried to kill him.
It's as if the children, and perhaps the grandchildren, are wanting to act out the past of their ancestors instead of being ashamed of it.
Just as Nazis exploited hatred of the Jews in pre-war Germany, neo-Nazis are doing the same with refugees. But calmer voices insist Germany today is not the same country that once fell in step behind Adolf Hitler.
West Germany is a very strong democracy, and that it has shown that it is quite fit to deal with these movements as an open society and as a democracy.
Now, Germany's open-door refugee policy is undermining support for the European common market. Refugees pour into Germany from the former East Bloc. If common market borders come down as planned, the refugees could inundate Europe. German police are on alert tonight because it's an anniversary. On September 1st, 1939, World War II started. So many decades later, the same hatreds are brewing again. Barry Peterson, CBS News, London.
The American dollar is having a tough time on world markets. Today it fell to a record low against the German mark. The experts blame the dollar's decline on the continuing weakness of the U.S. economy. There is a new and disturbing trend in car thefts in this country. As Jacqueline Adams reports, the thieves are getting younger and they're becoming more daring and dangerous.
It's called doing a donut. The ultimate in daredevil teenage driving, especially if you've just stolen the car. In Newark, New Jersey, car thefts have reached epidemic proportions, and it's not just teenagers. Kids as young as 7 have been arrested, and the young thieves have gone beyond taunting police. They're now deliberately ramming police cars. The cops are fighting back. In the last 9 days, at least 4 youngsters have been killed or wounded by police gunfire.
They just mad because they 35, 40 years old and got some 12-year-old kid that drive better than them. That's what they mad about. Stay in comments, bro.
That's not how angry, frustrated officials see it.
The fact is that these kids are walking out of the jails. I mean, the matter of fact, they don't even reach the jails. They reach as far as the precinct, and then they're turned over to their parents or anyone else.
Later this week, Newark's mayor predicts New Jersey officials will finally get tough and begin treating teenage car thieves as the criminals they are.
We're demanding that youthful offenders and their family be held accountable for their action.
That could mean curfews, boot camps, or house arrests for young offenders, mandatory jail time, and even financial penalties for parents.
As serious as the car theft problem is here in Newark, some community leaders worry that any new Get Tough policy could backfire.
The sorriness of this whole episode is that they will now accept a dead child for a car.
But everyone agrees something needs to be done to stop the car thefts. More counseling, more inner-city jobs, more sports programs, something to replace the thrill that the kids are now getting out of what's become a deadly spectator sport. Jacqueline Adams, CBS News, Newark.
Stay with us now for more of the CBS Evening News. Up next, our latest look at the presidential campaign. Tonight, Bill Clinton on the stump on the issues.
Hi. These days, you can have a pizza delivered in 30 minutes.
If the driver doesn't get lost.
Right, Mama. But in just 8 minutes, you can take Boboli, Italian bread shell, made with fresh mozzarella and Parmesan cheeses, garlic, and imported olive oil. Then add your favorite toppings and create your own magnificent pizza. Crispy outside, soft inside, for less than any pizzeria.
And you don't have to tip a delivery boy.
Good point, Mama. Remember, only you can top Boboli.
Hello? Sorry, we don't deliver.
People loved the old type of granola, but didn't know it was loaded with fat. Introducing new Kellogg's low-fat granola. Lots of delicious whole grains, almonds, and raisins, but only half the fat of leading granolas. New Kellogg's low-fat granola. Great taste, half the fat.
If you want the granola that's low in fat, naturally you'd choose this one, new Kellogg's low-fat granola. But if you want the one that was overwhelmingly preferred in taste tests, you'd still pick this one.
Kellogg's low-fat granola. Better taste, half the fat.
Dear Folgers, I run a bed and breakfast. When I overslept one morning, the Folgers switch saved my reputation. The percolator wasn't even set up, so I secretly switched Folgers crystals for the brewed coffee I normally serve.
This is delicious.
Well, the taste and aroma must have fooled them, because they were shocked when I revealed the switch and joked about sounding like one of your restaurant commercials.
Folgers Crystals, proven to surprise fresh brewed coffee drinkers.
Sincerely, Janet Turley. Thank you.
That afternoon, they graduated. That night, they vanished without a trace. Have you seen them? An all-new 48 Hours, Wednesday.
From time to time in the presidential campaign, we bring you excerpts from the candidates' standard speeches. It's a way of letting you hear their positions on the issues in their own words, unfiltered. Tonight, some of what Democrat Bill Clinton has been talking about in his stump speeches.
All that 4 more years, 10, they got the worst economic performance in 50 years, right? The first time in 70 years, the top 1% of the American people control more wealth than the bottom 90%. You just remember that. You remember, 4 more months is what we need.
We desperately need a president who will take responsibility for getting this country moving again, provide the leadership to pull us all together, and challenge this nation to compete in the world and win again. A president who will leave behind the failed Republican experiment in trickle-down economics on the one hand, but will not embrace the old Democratic theory of tax and spend and regulate on the other.
The president says Bill Clinton wants to take 1 million jobs away and hollow out the national defense. The truth is, I want to spend 95% as much as he does over the next 5 years. And unlike him, I'm going to reinvest the rest of the money to put the American people to work. I'm not going to leave the people who won the Cold War out in the cold. Unless we join the ranks of the other advanced nations in the world and control health care costs and provide basic health care to all Americans, we cannot control the deficit, restore our economic health, or restore fundamental decency to this land. We can do better, and we must. And the only way you can get national health care in America is to vote for Bill Clinton and Al Gore, because George Bush will never give it to you. We ought to open the doors of college education to everybody. Let anybody borrow the money to go to college. And pay it back in one of 2 ways, either as a percentage of their income after they go to work, or even better, what if everybody from Texas who went to college came back to their hometown or went to the nearest city and worked as a teacher for 2 years, or a police officer, or with kids in trouble? The thing that bothers me is that the tone of the family values debate today is too polarized for short-term political purposes and too little imbued with a deep, profound concern for the welfare of the real people whose real lives will be affected by the real decisions of America in this election. President Bush has decided to run this election against my wife. As I have said, I have more experience with that than he does, and he's bound to lose if he keeps going down that road.
That's some of what Bill Clinton has been saying on the campaign trail. Tomorrow, we'll bring you excerpts from President Bush's campaign speeches. Coming up next here tonight, Eye on America. They expected the good life, retirement after a lifetime of work. Instead, They have to start all over after Andrew.
As the water of the Colorado River goes, so go the western states. And as the western states go, so goes the country. We just thought you'd like to know. The Colorado, if it's important to you, you'll find it in time.
Tears of pain, tears of joy. But when your eyes are dry, soothe them with the tears of Murine. Closer to your own tears than other leading eye drops or artificial tears. Murine, natural tears formula.
Raisin Bran is Raisin Bran. What's this? Total Raisin Bran, huh? It has 100% of lots of vitamins and minerals. Kellogg's has only one. I'm surprised.
Total Raisin Bran with the total difference. It may surprise you to learn who, over 30 years ago, was the first car maker to build cars with seat belts, to make safety glass standard, the first U.S. car maker to offer anti-lock brakes, and who today offers more models with dual airbags than any other manufacturer. That company is Ford Motor Company.
We're committed to making safety innovation an important part of quality.
Ford Motor Company. Quality is job one. It's working.
No home, no food, no water, and no way to keep from getting sick. The Andrew Aftermath. Dr. Bob Arnott reports from Florida tomorrow on CBS This Morning.
All this week, Eye on America is focusing on the people whose lives were changed by Hurricane Andrew. For many of them, Florida was not just their home, it was their reward for a lifetime of work. And as Bob McNamara reports, they saw that reward blown away.
Florida had become aging America's favorite retirement home. Last week, the kind climate turned cruel.
Yes, Andrew.
When Hurricane Andrew hit Dade County, home to more retirees than most states, golden dreams turned upside down.
Yeah, she came down here for the weather, and it was nice, and it was warm, and she bought the trailer. You know, basically, that's how she lived.
Al Porter's 89-year-old aunt lost her life in the storm. Thousands like her lost a way of life.
Our home was destroyed. We just don't have anything left.
All I could see was my green lounge chair that was sitting in the large window in my bedroom, and that was it.
Now it's beginning to sink in. What do I do? Where do I go? How? I don't know. I have no answers.
There are still few answers for Florida's displaced retirees. Often far from family, many lived alone. Now, homeless and alone, some face difficult futures.
Where are they going to go? I don't even want to think about it.
I don't know how they'll cope. And I don't think the major effort is for that group at this point.
The problems of the elderly were most obvious in nursing homes, where people needing 24-hour care sometimes found themselves unprotected.
The roof caved in, and the water came in, and we're just thankful that none of the residents got hurt.
The hurricane caught Homestead Manor Nursing Home without a workable evacuation plan.
Nobody even thought about it. I mean, even we didn't, being in the business.
Nowhere to send its 39 wheelchair-bound residents, and no way to get them there.
I was told by Dade County that we will get to you as soon as we can after we have evacuated the beach area.
But to think that they could be there for 24, 48 hours just sitting in water in a wheelchair or a walker or whatever, it's just very frightening. Here's the elevator. Love it.
At a different nursing home, staffer Nancy Grabb helped evacuate more than 250 patients. It wasn't easy.
God must have been taking care of us. I know he was. And God be with you. He's not with me tonight.
For many of Florida's elderly, the storm and its aftermath have been traumatic.
Oh, God.
I'm 77 years old, and you can't plan too much ahead. It's just hard to start over.
Larry Conklin and his wife Etta have little choice.
Patterns. sewing materials.
Like many others, their home destroyed, they have to start over.
We are survivors, but it's rough at our age.
For many, what might have been the best years of their lives may be the hardest of all. In Florida City, Florida, Bob McNamara for Eye on America.
Boy, I keep reading about this vitamin in vegetables, beta-carotene.
Me too. In fact, I'm having some right now.
What, vegetables for breakfast?
No.
The latest news is, now there's a brand new way to get some beta-carotene. Whole grain Total.
Of course.
Total is the only leading cereal that has beta-carotene. Plus 12 other vitamins and minerals.
With this news about beta-carotene, I'm eating Total.
Of course.
You never know what kind of copier dealer you got until you have a problem. But when you call a Minolta dealer...
Hi, this is Bart Christensen of M&M Sales Company. How may we help you?
You'll always have a dealer who makes service and response a #1 priority. So if you buy a Minolta copier from us, we'll leave no problem unsolved and no question unanswered.
You know that some insurance companies specify imitation parts for GM cars and trucks? It's true, and many don't measure up to GM standards. So listen to a guy who's been through a fender or two. And insist on genuine GM parts.
There's a certain itch that's so private, most people will only discuss it with their doctor. Fortunately, now you can get new Anusol HC1 ointment. Over the counter, with the same prescription strength doctors have prescribed most.
2 a.m., 36 Pine Street. Apartment 4C has a backache and can't sleep. 3C overdid her afternoon workout and is paying the price. 2C had an aching back, but fortunately, she also has Tylenol PM, with extra strength Tylenol pain reliever, plus a gentle ingredient to help her sleep. And a good night's sleep was all she needed to make her day a whole lot brighter. Tylenol PM, so you can rest easy.
Oakland's Jose Canseco was in the on-deck circle last night, ready to bat against Baltimore. Suddenly, baseball's leading home run hitter over the last 7 seasons was called back to the dugout. It wasn't to give him advice. It was to tell him he was gone in the baseball trade of the year. Bill Lagatuda reports.
Jose Canseco is one of baseball's heavy hitters.
Here's a long drive to left center field. Canseco has hit it a mile.
But he is also baseball's bad boy, allegedly sneaking into Madonna's apartment, nabbed for speeding in his sports car, for carrying a gun, for feuding with his wife, then trying to run her car off the road.
Maybe the fans were getting tired of Jose Canseco, or maybe I have really worn out my welcome here.
Maybe the fans were a little tired of all the hijinks, but when the Oakland A's announced they were trading Canseco to Texas, it was a baseball bombshell.
Yeah, I think it's the worst trade since the Red Sox traded Babe Ruth to the Yankees.
The Oakland management said the trade, in which they get outfielder Ruben Sierra, pitcher Bobby Witt, and reliever Jeff Russell, was a move to strengthen the team for the playoffs.
Personally, I liked him a lot. Professionally, you know, he was something special.
Canseco's going over to the stands here.
Because of his soap opera personal life, Canseco has always been the player the fans love to hate. And that's good box office, to a point.
That kind of thing would have a strong carryover to his playing out on the field, and it would become a negative influence, a very distracting influence on the ball club.
It's a bad year to be a sports fan, period, in the Bay Area. The San Francisco Giants want to move. 49er quarterback Joe Montana is hurt and probably won't play. And now Canseco's gone.
When a player hits 40, averages about 35 to 38 home runs a year and drives in 100 runs and is getting booed, I think basically maybe it's an indication that it's time to move on.
Time to go to the Rangers, where the best news for Canseco may be that in Texas, they do like their characters colorful. Bill Lagatuda, CBS News, Los Angeles.
And that's our news. I'm Connie Chung for Dan Rather. I'll see you again tomorrow night. Thank you for joining us, and for all of us at CBS News, good night.
CBS News.
On TV8 News, live at 6 tonight.
Relief efforts continue to pour into southern Florida to Hurricane Andrew's victims. I'm Dana Cardin. I'll have a live report from Homestead, Florida.
Also tonight, emotional testimony in the sentencing of a Central Iowa teacher for sexually abusing students. And poachers beware, if this deer looks inviting, you better not shoot.
We'll start a series on Johnny Gosh, 10 years later, and Miss Teenage America comes home. All next on TV8 News.
Your first love run?
Nope, this is my 9th love run.
Oh, then this is old hat for you.
Hat, shoe, whatever. How about you, Kelly? Are you signed up for the 10K love run or the 3K fun run?
I'm going for the gold, toe-to-toe with some of the best runners in the Midwest to help raise money for Jerry's kids.
Yeah, you and a pair of rocket-powered sneakers.
You heel.
Don't worry, guys. When we run in the love run, it's to help in the race against muscular dystrophy.
So don't miss the 9th annual MDA Love Run on Labor Day, September 7th, right here on TV8.
Hello, I'm Paul Frederickson, General Manager of KCCI. On this Labor Day, I'd like to take a special moment to recognize the members of the TV8 family. You know our award-winning news staff, but there are many faces behind the camera too. Our union engineers and talented production staff, our creative promotion and programming people, the dedicated advertising and traffic departments, and the business office. Our success starts with our employees, and I'd like to personally thank each and every one of them for making TV8 #1.
I wake up to it every morning. Just enough information and lots of great music.
Turn on the light. KEZT, the new Light 104.
Thank you for watching KCCI, TV8 in Des Moines. And now from TV8, Iowa's news leader, Paul Rhodes, Kevin Connie, Connie McBurney with weather, and Heidi Soliday Sports. This is TV8 News, live at 6.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us tonight. Iowans are arriving on the scene of last week's hurricane in Florida now and finding the devastation much worse than the pictures that were seen on television.
Among those in the Miami area today are TV8 reporter Dana Cardin and photographer Tim Bloomquist, who've been visiting with Iowans there all day. Dana joins us live now via satellite from Homestead, Florida. Dana, what were your first impressions upon arriving there?
Well, Paul, we're in one of the many relief centers down here in Homestead, Florida right now. This is where people come to get water, to get food, and in this case, there's a big stack of baby formula right here. First impressions? Well, one of the things about television is that sometimes through the lens of the camera, things often look worse than they actually are. This, however, is the exception. Anything that you've seen on your TV in the last week of the damage down here is an understatement of what's going on here. To try to put this in perspective somehow, if you took all of Des Moines, Urbandale, Windsor Heights, West Des Moines, throw in Pleasant Hill for good luck, throw tornadoes down about every other street all the way through the city, that's about what you're looking at here. You can stand in one spot, look around and say, okay, I've seen this through a tornado. But then you start driving mile after mile, neighborhood after neighborhood. Every house is damaged, 85,000 houses in all destroyed here, about an estimated 200,000 people without homes. It's overwhelming, and there's really no way that what you see on television does justice to the immense devastation down here. Paul?
Who have you been talking with today?
Sorry, Paul.
1, 2, 3, up.
Yes, have you been talking with some Iowans there today?
We have. Early this morning, we beat the traffic rush down here and met up with Chris Salisbury, who's a Des Moines native, lived there for 28 years. In fact, he was home in Des Moines going to the Iowa State Fair with his family when the hurricane struck. He came down here immediately after that and saw his house. And actually what he saw was not much of a house at all. I mean, there are walls standing, but that's about it. Windows are blown out, doors blown out, part of the roof blown out. Whole house is going to have to come down. We ran into a Marine from Melcher, Dallas. His name is Corporal Todd Lawler. He is up here with the Marines helping set up tent cities that many of these homeless people are going to be using in the days to come. He says this isn't what he joined the Marines for, but he's up here helping Americans in need. And he says what he tries to do is do what he did in Iowa, and that is to keep smiling, keep waving, and try to bring some of his positive Midwest attitude to the people down here who really need it. Paul?
Thank you, Dana. And Dana will be back, of course, in Des Moines with more reports starting Thursday at 6 on TV8 News.
Meanwhile, the effort by Iowa JCs to send supplies to Florida is going so well now that they need more trucks to haul all the donated goods. A JC spokesman says 3 semis have been filled in Des Moines, 4 others elsewhere in Iowa. He anticipates once the effort is over later this week, they'll have enough to fill 18 semi-rigs. More trucks are needed, and the Iowa Motor Truck Association is helping find semis and tractor rigs to make the drive to Florida later this week. By the way, President Bush, who visited Florida and Louisiana today, plans to address the nation tonight to discuss the relief efforts. The speech expected to last about 5 minutes, and you can see it live here on TV8 tonight at 8.
White supremacist and former Iowan Randy Weaver pleaded not guilty today to federal weapons charges. The 44-year-old Jefferson, Iowa native had no comment as he was led into the federal court in Boise, Idaho. Randy Weaver is also charged with assaulting federal officers. Today, federal agents had their first look inside the cabin where he held federal authorities at bay for 11 days. Agents say they seized a cache of weapons and thousands of rounds of ammunition. But they say all the firearms apparently are legal. Weaver and his family were holed up in their Idaho cabin after he failed to appear in court on weapons charges. Weaver's wife, teenage son, and a U.S. Marshal all were killed in the shootout, Weaver being held in a Boise, Idaho jail.
A former Roland Story middle school teacher was sentenced to prison today for the sexual abuse of one of his students. TVA's Steve Oswald has been following this story. He joins us live now from the newsroom with today's details. Steve?
Well, Kevin, former Roland Story science teacher Gary Jensen was handed a 4-year sentence this afternoon. He'll begin serving that sentence on Thursday. Jensen had pleaded guilty to 4 sexual abuse charges in return for having 7 other similar charges being dropped. Today, the Story County courtroom was packed with Roland Story residents on both sides of this emotional story.
Those packing the Story County courtroom heard first from Bill Hobbs, who remembered the nightmare revelation this spring from his now 19-year-old son, Rob.
He told us that he'd been sexually abused.
And who did that sexual abuse?
Gary Jensen. I wanted to kill him.
The Hobbs have been friends and next-door neighbors with the Jensens for 20 years. They were planning to vacation together this June until they learned their son was being sexually abused by Jensen.
He's not worth talking to. He's not worth looking at.
Then Jensen had his chance.
I feel very badly for Rob.
How do you feel about the fact that you were abusing the same children you were teaching?
It was counterproductive to what a teacher's job is.
Defense attorneys argued for a suspended sentence, but Judge M.D. Sizer gave Jensen what prosecutors wanted, the maximum 4-year sentence, a $4,000 fine, and restitution for victims' counseling costs.
I think justice was finally served, which is great for the kids.
The judicial system has showed us that there is, how do I want to say it, there's help out there.
Jensen is 47 years old. Testimony today revealed that his sexual feelings for teenage boys began when he was about 25. The judge says he leveled the maximum sentence because Jensen had been sexually abusing boys for more than 20 years and did not seek help until investigators brought charges this spring. Kevin?
All right, Steve. Thank you.
Officials in southwest Missouri tonight are trying to identify a body found along Interstate 44. The body is that of a young female, and there are both similarities and differences between that body and missing Grinnell student Tammy Zawicki. The girl whose body was found today is believed to have been dead about 3 days to a week, had auburn hair and brown eyes. Tammy Zawicki has blonde hair and blue eyes. Both Tammy and the girl whose body was found today are 5'2". The girl found today was wrapped in a blanket. Illinois State Police are contacting Missouri authorities about the body late today.
Hey, some much-needed rain finally on the way, right, Connie?
Actually, rain's been flirting with the state much of the day. At least it's going to stick around a while, and it's very welcome at that because the figures are now in for the summer, and as you suspected, it was not only one of the coolest, but one of the driest. We'll take a look at all the statistics of the past weird summer, plus a look at the forecast later in the news.
And more to come on TV8 News. It's been 10 years now since Johnny Gosch disappeared. Tonight we begin special reports.
And Iowa's newest celebrity is about to arrive at the Des Moines International Airport. Her name is Jamie Solinger, and she's Miss Teen USA. I'm Jill Lingwall. I'll have a live report.
Stand out in a crowd. Light up the room. In clothes from Ross's in Boone. Ross's has been Central Iowa's favorite clothing store for over 21 years. Ross's has career and casual styles in all your favorite brand names. Everyone loves Ross's huge collection of unique accessories.